Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Earlier. Thanks thanks much there, David. I appreciate you giving me the heads up. And what I was trying to articulate, if you could not read my lips earlier, big game Saturday, UNC Charlotte coming to town off a victory where they beat Gardner-Webb by stopping a 2-point play at the late in the fourth quarter after Gardner and Webb had raced out to a 20-0 lead. UNC Charlotte then scored 27 unanswered points. Gardner-Webb again scored late. The score was 27-26. They decided to go for two. And when they did that, UNC Charlotte stopped them to get the victory, which moved their record to 1-2. They had played James Madison, ironically, the first game of the season, losing 30-7. And then University of North Carolina, they had played also prior to the Gardner-Webb game and gave UNC a pretty darn good ball game. Unfortunately, they came up short in that one as well. And of course, like I just said, Gardner-Webb game, they get the big W prior to coming in here to Bloomington this Saturday, a noon kickoff on BTN. And if you're within the Bloomington area or close by, let's hope that we can have a nice crowd filling up the Rock Saturday afternoon for that noon kickoff. And the Hoosiers have garnered a lot of attention this past week, moving their record to 3-0 over with a big victory over UCLA this past Saturday, a part of the Big Ten Saturday night on NBC Sports. And with that victory, 42-13, if I correctly remember that, the Hoosiers became somewhat of celebrities throughout the week. Curtis Rourke, Big Ten Player of the Week, as well as the Hoosiers are off to one of their better starts in quite a while. But I also learned something on Jim Coyle's show this morning that Curt Cignetti is on the verge, and the Hoosiers are on the verge of possibly moving their record to 4-0. And I think the last time a Indiana team that had started the year 4-0 was some 100 plus years ago. So there's a lot of quote unquote history in some respects riding on this Saturday's game. But as I said earlier this week, when I was broadcasting from on the road due to my day job, that this is what I would term as a trap game from the standpoint. You've got the big win over UCLA after the game versus UNC Charlotte. You've got Maryland right around the corner. They're waiting there because they're on a bye this week. And so what Indiana wants to make sure of, they're not peeking around the corner because this will be the last non-conference game. And it's a great opportunity, like I said, to move 4-0, do some things there historically, and then set your sights on the Terps, because that game will, and the game after with Northwestern, who will also have a bye prior to playing Indiana, if you can imagine that. Two teams in a row that will have 2 weeks essentially to prepare for the Hoosiers. And that is an advantage. But all Big Ten games from that point forward, and Indiana is on the right track, as we all had hoped, based upon the schedule and the number of home games. And after defeating UCLA this past weekend, that kind of set the sights for a lot of things to potentially unfold for Indiana when it comes to the next couple weeks with stuff and the opportunities that will present itself. Now, quickly, let me establish my sponsorship called Bet Online. Thank you, David, again for letting me know that I was on mute. But anyway, Bet Online, remember, number one source for all things sports wagering. You can find them at betonline.ag. And remember, they are the number one source for all things sports wagering. NFL, WNBA, Major League Baseball, closely getting to the pennant races. And then, of course, college football each and every Saturday. And once you're done with those games, you can always stop into their online casino, play a little poker or blackjack. And if that is not your fancy, remember they got over 150 different slot machines that you can choose from on betonline.ag. Also, do not forget the NFL contest that they have there for the grand prize. Pretty good pot there. You can find that information as well on their website. Remember, Bet Online, the game starts here. And then lastly, before we get going here, remember our affiliates and the links for those can be found on HoosierTailgate.com. HoosierTailgate.com. There's an affiliates links page there, or you can find them on my bio pages via Linktree. Hit the shop button and it will take you to the pages that have all the links. And just to be fully transparent, remember, anyone that would purchase something from one of those links, first and foremost, we thank you very much, but we do get a little bit of a commission for that, and just wanted to be transparent. But if you happen to go there, we appreciate you and everything that goes along with that. Some great companies there that you could potentially pick up something for your tailgate even. It's a great opportunity there. But let's talk about this game. Remember, Hoosiers, UNC Charlotte, noon kickoff from Memorial Stadium, broadcast on the Big Ten Network. UNC Charlotte comes in at 1-2, coming off a win against Gardner and Webb, which is an FCS school, but it is a non-scholarship football program. Very similar. Well, it is similar because they're in the same conference, I believe, as Butler. And while their other sports at those institutions are scholarshiped, football programs there are not. And UNC Charlotte escaped with a win, 27-26, stopping a 2-point play. That point after the final score there, they went for 2 and come up a little short on that. But again, that's the thing that UNC has going for them. They got their win. They got that off their back, so to speak. And they come into Indiana with a positive feeling that they've got an opportunity to take a shot at a little of a team that's on a hot streak, 3-0. Curtis Rourke coming off the Big Ten Player of the Week performance, in a number of Indiana Hoosiers grading out high on the PFF grading system that they put out each and every week. Indiana graded out quite well on both sides of the ball. And so UNC will take that to note, and that will give them plenty of motivation to get out and try to get something away from Indiana. And like I said, number one responsibility of the Hoosiers is to start putting the nails in the coffin from the opening kickoff, just like they did against Western Illinois, not giving any hope to the 49ers, as that would be something that the Hoosiers definitely want to stay away from in a game like this, is giving this team any hope, because while they are struggling and a little bit controversy at the quarterback position, they will be starting their third string quarterback against Indiana. Some of it due to injury, some of it was his playing against Gardner and Webb. He's the one that pretty much orchestrated the comeback for them. They do have some good ball players, and This is an opportunity, though, for Indiana to move to 4-0 and set their sights on the rest of the Big Ten as they would enter next week against Maryland 1-0. And like I said, Maryland is off this week, so they have 2 whole weeks to prepare for Indiana on top of heal up in that regard. Just remember, in this game coming up, CJ West and Pounds will be ineligible to play due to the targeting fouls they took at UCLA in the second half. They'll have to sit for 1 full half there, or half at Indiana's game this Saturday, but they will be available starting in the second half of the game. I think one was warranted. I don't think the CJ West one was. And I do believe the UCLA hit on Aiden Fisher during the interception, in my opinion, should have been called as a targeting foul, but it wasn't. So again, the mystery of what is or what isn't targeting can be a little bit elusive at times, as it is totally subjective. And while the officials try to do the best they can do under the parameters they're giving, they're just like any other one of us. They are fallible as well. But it is what it is, and those 2 guys will not be able to play in the first half of the game Saturday. And I do believe Indiana does have the backups to play in that ball game, and better this week than any other week. And that's something that Indiana is going to have to be very conscious of, is playing these type of games from here on out. You don't want to lose somebody because of a targeting foul, because that is something that it's difficult to rebound from. Also, let's look at some of the things here as well as we get into some of the things we like to do. But prior to we get going here, a little bit from just kind of a reminder thing. The NCAA case on ice, as the judge doesn't sign off on the agreement, or what was to believe to be the agreement that was going to settle the case. Right now, both sides are working diligently to have a resolution in a document to the judge. I believe it's either this Friday or next Friday. I'm not positive on that, but there are a couple hangups in that the NCAA and even in the schools are not all too happy about. The one big thing that from what I can gather from my understanding of the case and everything that's situated with it is these collectives that do these NIL deals outside the scope of the school, because they can't be involved in it. Remember, Tennessee was able to file a lawsuit against the NCAA to prevent them from penalizing them of any wrongdoing in that regard. It was one of those things that, you got to be very understanding that these things, what the NCAA wants with these collectives is for them to be under their umbrella as well as the school's umbrella. They don't want a situation where they stay the same, because that was some of the problems with the collectives making deals separate of the institution and giving a bunch of money to a potential targeted recruit. And there was no way to have a checks and balances with it. Now, what the NCAA is wanting, as well as the schools, is for any collective deal put together has to go through a review and meeting the standard or the requirement of what they call fair market value. And if it's not signed off on that third party as representing fair market value, then that deal is not enforceable. So that's some of the hangups right now with some wording and things of that nature. But the NCAA is really kind of in no man's land. They really are going to have to kind of do some things that they may not want to do, because if this thing actually goes to trial and they lose, which the vast majority of people says they will, the penalties that will be imposed on them will be insurmountable, and the NCAA would not even exist anymore. So, and the college presidents want the NCAA there to be that party that handles all the things that are involved with intercollegiate athletics. And I can appreciate that. I'm sure you can too, and everything with that. But that's where we're at with that situation there. And Robert, I did just check my levels, and hopefully you are hearing me a little bit better than maybe you were. Let's hope you can. I did some adjustments, but anyway, enough on that. Again, we're going to take a look here in just a second, the stats breakdown for Indiana Charlotte, some of the key things that I believe for this weekend's game, and then take a quick peek in the Coach Griff's video room of this ball game on Saturday afternoon of the Charlotte 49ers in that regard. So let's get down here to, let's see. I did want to show you some of this as it pertains to some of the betting odds of this weekend, and kind of where things sit along the Big Ten. The big game is tomorrow night between Nebraska and Illinois. As you can see there, Nebraska is about a 6.5 point favorite in that regard. And let's see, they're 8.5, I'm sorry, is where it's at. It's fluctuated to 7.5. And so that game is going to be a big game tomorrow night, as Ohio State takes on Marshall, which will be on the big noon kickoff again on the Fox networks. And they are about a 38.5 point favorite there. And then Indiana is 27.5. It opened at that. They've moved to 28.5. So things there, as you can see, Indiana again favored. Penn State plays Penn State plays Kent State. And then that one is pretty much as you would expect it after Kent State come off. I think it was a 77-0 game against Tennessee. And Tennessee actually did an onside kick. It's crazy. Virginia Tech and Rutgers, that's another good game that could be this weekend. Right now, it's about a 3.5 point on that one. Big one up in Ann Arbor, USC versus Michigan. And the point line on this has kind of jumped all over the place, but I now think after it opened, I think Michigan was a 10.5 point favorite. It is now flipped completely where USC is a 4 point favorite. So that's changed, and Michigan just decided to go with their next quarterback in line there. I'm not sure where Jack Tuttle fits in all that, the old Indiana quarterback, but I know that he's involved in some of that, but we'll see. UCLA heads to LSU and Baton Rouge for a 3:30 kickoff. It's going to be hot there. They're currently a 22.5 point underdog. Northwestern and Washington. Northwestern is a 9.5 point underdog that moved to 10.5 now. That one's interesting. I think that game, if it stayed at that, I may think taking the points, because I'm not I know Northwestern offensively has struggled a little bit, but I don't necessarily think Washington is the world beater that they were a year ago, and that they lost this past weekend. But that game, that's an interesting matchup as well. Iowa, Minnesota is the next one. Iowa opens up a 2.5 point favorite, and they've held that against Minnesota. That game will be a pretty darn good game, and that's a rivalry game as well. Michigan State versus Boston College. Boston College is a 6.5 point favorite, and I think it stayed that way for the most part. But Boston College is a pretty darn good ball club this year. They got that quarterback that's pretty fast in it. He's fast. Number one, he's hard to tackle. But they've looked good thus far under Coach O'Brien coming in from the Patriots. And then Michigan State, new coach there too. And they've done well under the new regime there. So this ball game, I think, will be a pretty darn good one. That's an 8:00 kickoff. And then, of course, Purdue travels to Oregon State after they just got pummeled by Notre Dame. And not to say that Notre Dame wasn't a little mad from the week before, and Purdue just happened to be in their way, but Purdue didn't look all that great in that game either, and that contributed to it. But Oregon State currently is only a 4.5 point favorite. So that's an interesting look at the games on tap this weekend. As I said earlier, Indiana opened up a 27.5 point favorite, and they've now jumped a full point to a 28.5 point favorite over UNC Charlotte. And again, noon kickoff on BTN. So there we go with all that. Let's take a look at Charlotte's Too Deep up here. One thing with some of this and how they've got it listed here in this far column, and hopefully you guys can see this and it's not too small. In the far column, it's got the number of games played versus the number of games started. So I'll try to point out who's kind of their guys that have tons of experience, and the guys that are circled or boxed in are somewhere in a leading category, either one or two, in their respective categories, receiving or rushing. And then the guys that in the offensive line that I've pointed out there are two of their top guys in the lineup. But Trexler Ivy is the quarterback that was the third string non-scholarship, I believe, walk-on junior. But he's played in 14 games, which is kind of ironic. This will be his actually fifth game starting, and he's the third team quarterback. I know that I think it was Washington that may have been the transfer, but I'm not positive on that one. Then at running back, the guy that's leading with yards is Wilson, but he's kind of listed as 5'11", 190-pound junior, but you can see he's played in 22 games. So there are three-headed horse running back room. So you're going to see all three of them. Colin Weber is their tight end, number 18. He's played 26 games, 6 starts. He's done really well, but their most experienced guy at the tight end position is Jake Clemens, number 81. 6'6", 270, and he started 27 games, so he's a really good player as well. And then Sean O'Brien on the outside, he's the grad transfer, 14 games played, 3 started. He's 6'4", 200, pretty lanky guy. Can make some plays down the field for you, as can Weber, the other tight end. Johnny King and Michael Myers. There's a scary name for you. Both of some guys that have plenty of experience, 12 starts for Myers in 18 for King. So offensively speaking, they've got a mixture of experience with number of guys that have played games, not too many starters in the sense where they've racked up a ton of starts. So it's a mixture of guys. They've kind of struggled at times offensively. They've looked good at times, but at times they just are not very in sync as you'd want to be there in that regard. So it'll be an interesting dynamic them offensively that Indiana will have to deal with. And then defensively, not too bad of a group. Dre Butler is a guy that's, 32 games played. He's only had 2 starts for them, but he's got some couple of sacks. He's flashed on tape, the tape that I've watched. Burden, linebacker in a backup role, has more tackles than the gentleman he's backing up. Reed Wilford is their leading tackler. 6'2", 225, 26 games played, 7 career starts. Little bit like Aiden Fisher in that regard. That's kind of how I would relate to him in that respect. Ali, the safety, 5'11", 185. Now he's got 15 career starts, so he's one of their leading experienced guys, as is McGee, who's down here in third at the safety position, but he's also leading tackler on some of these guys, which is kind of a weird thing to see a guy listed third on the depth chart, but he's one of their leading tacklers. So, but the other guy, the Conley kid, that number 6, he's got 10 games started, which is one of their most experienced guys on the defensive side. Their defensive front, they're okay. This Des Morgan kid, number 90, he's the senior. He's played in 34 games, made 26 starts, so he's one of their leaders, as is Charlie Jackson, who's had 33 career starts. So they've got some experience up here, good-sized kids. The only guy that's flashed a lot for me is the Butler kid when I've watched tape, but that doesn't mean these guys are not capable in that regard. So Indiana's offense and defense will, should be on paper better than what they are. And I don't doubt that. But, just like any Division I team, these guys are on scholarship too, so they must be pretty darn good at times. So that's their 2 deep look. Let's go over here to their statistics on the year thus far. Let's go back a page here. This is kind of their offensive stats, cumulative stats here that we've got here. Again, rushing the ball, you got Wilson and Kelman, the 2 top guys. Wilson, though, is the gentleman that's got about 116 yards over 3 games played, so not a great average per game, where Kelman has a better average. Their longest runs are 39 and 41, which, they're not getting a lot of chunk plays out of their running game. And one of those, I think, would have probably been against James Madison, where they busted out a big run play. But they're not guys in their run game are getting to that second level. And that's attributed to the offensive line. I just don't think necessarily is great at run blocking or hasn't been of yet. And so they've been in situations where they've also had to throw it. I mean, you're down 20 to Gardner and Webb, an FCS school non-scholarship, and you can't run the football against them. That's a problem. So from a passing standpoint, of course, Max Brown is the kid that Ivy will be replacing at that spot. Again, they've thrown about 3 picks on the year, and as a whole, only 5 total touchdowns, averaging about 184, 164. So, overall, when you look at their passing game, they're averaging, let's see here, 290, 279 a game. So you can see they've had to throw it quite a bit. They've already thrown it 111 times rush in the passing game, where they've only rushed it 82. So they're not too far from what we would call a balanced attack. But Brown and Purdue both are benched per se, and Ivy will be the starter. Third teamer will get a start this Saturday. And I do believe one of these two, Brown or Purdy, is a questionable for Saturday with I think it's a knee. So they're a little banged up at that spot. Receiving, we talked about Weber, the tight end. He's the one average about 48 a game. Brown, outside receiver, about 48 a game. And then Kennan, he's averaging about 38 a game, but you can see their yards total and the total receptions. Those are the three top guys for them. And then I think it's Jarius Mack is the kid that has a lot of their big plays in terms. He's got, as long as plays 40, but he's got a couple others in there. When you see he's averaging 26.2 a reception, and you can see 5 touchdowns on the year. But remember, they've also thrown 3 picks. So averaging about 279 and change on the passing game, 64 yards in the run game. That gives you an average of only 343, and they're giving up 431. You can see up here in the red, their quarterbacks are throwing for 59%, and their opponents is throwing for 60%, but they've also picked off the ball 5 times as a defense. So +2 in that category. Unfortunately, they've had trouble with the ball on the ground. 6 times they've fumbled it and only recovered 3. And they've only got 1 recover fumble, which puts them at a turnover margin at 0. So no real advantage there. And again, if you can see 26% on third down conversions, that's because they're not doing very good on first and second downs. And they're giving up near 40% to the opponents. And even on third down, even though they're 50% there, they've only gone for it 10 times. And they've given up 67% for the opponents in that regard. So we'll go over here to the leading tacklers again. The Reed Wilford kid, that's the big inside guy. He's got 4 tackles for losses, 27 yards, 1 sack, 19 total tackles. Then you're getting into the secondary with the next 3, which tells you they're getting to that second and third level pretty regularly when you see this guy's making a lot of these tackles. Ali, the number 0, he's already got 2 picks on the years. So he's a pretty good guy that you have to be worried that you're not giving too much away in the passing game, because he can go get it from you. And then McKee and Butler. That's 91 is the Butler kid that I talked about. He's already got 3 TFLs for 17 yards and 1 sack on the year. And but you can see he's got some pass breakups, quarterback hurries, and the forced fumbles. So this kid on the D-line is rather active. So Butler is a guy to keep an eye on. And that gives you a little bit of their look there at their defensive statistical leaders on the year. Let's see here. They've already got 102 in TFLs. They've got 8 sacks in total. And let's see here. 5 interceptions and 13 hurries. And then we've got the 1 fumble. So that's them as a total team. And when you look at it from that perspective and what they give you as a total unit, again, like I said, I don't think they're world beaters on defense, and offensively, they just haven't established enough of a run game where they can get out of the predictability stuff, where you got teams just pinning their ears back because they're getting them in 3rd and long, 2nd and long, and they're, not fooling anybody because they're going to throw the football. So that's what both of their units look like. And like I said, if I had to compare them to any of the first 3 that Indiana's played, maybe, again, they're better than Western Illinois, but I don't think that they're overly better than Western Illinois in that regard. So they're kind of in that vicinity, maybe a step or 2 better than Western when you look at them as a total unit in that regard. Let's go back here to Indiana's stuff. Let's see if I can get it. And like I said, these guys have thus far been really good. And excuse my use of color. That's me as a coach doing a lot of the color coding and stuff. But we'll go through this really quick. Boy, I tell you, the running backs, again, 3 guys have pretty much predominantly been in the games, with Ellison and Lawton be the 2 real primary guys. Ellison's averaging 77.3. He's got a couple, 3 touchdowns, averaging, I believe, 8 yards a carry, which is just ridiculous. And then you look at Lawton, he's at 4.7, averaging about 50 a game. And then Green, who's come in at times rather late in games, averaging 9.8 a carry and 42.7. I like to see Green get in more. Green, to me, is their guy that has more elusiveness, lateral quickness, and vertical speed. And he's a guy that can break and take a 2 or 3 yard gain and make it 88. I think he's got the better speed of the other 2, but they haven't played him in the course of the game that much this season yet, predominantly using Ellison and Lawton. And then when you look at it, Black, who's another good one, he's only had 11 carries, but he's still averaging 5.3 yards a carry. So they're getting production there, but that's to the offensive line's credit. Let's not forget, those guys up front have done a heck of a job thus far in 3 games of providing good run lanes and such. And those backs have made the offensive linemen right. And that's what I said early in the preview of the season. Running backs have to make offensive linemen right in the blocking game a lot. But that's not to say that the offensive line isn't helping immensely with running lanes for them. It was hard for them to run the ball on Saturday, even though they did gain over 100 yards, just because of all the craziness that UCLA was bringing in terms of their stunts and pressures. There's a lot of junk in that game. When you looked at it, UNC is a very vanilla defense. They will bring pressure, but that's not their cup of tea. They're more of, let's play basic defenses. Let's get our guys in the right positions and gaps and go play ball. They don't like to put themselves in a position where they can give up big plays. And so you see them playing a lot of vanilla defense. But again, when you have a team like them, second year with the coach, they're trying to get them, to do things the right way and not overburden them with a lot of thinking. Passing wise, Curtis Rourke, what can you say about the young man? 191.2 efficiency. That's amazing. Averaging about 250 yards a game. His biggest play from scrimmage is 71 yards. He's thrown for 755 yards to date. 74% completion percentage. And that is not throwing a lot of bubble screens and routes under 5 yards. They've pushed the ball downfield. He's just been really good and accurate when you think about it with him. And of course, Taven, with what he's done, he's 3 for 3 on the year, big play of 69 and 1 TD. And, I think we're in a good place with him as it pertains to having to be ready at any moment. I think he can step up and do the job. And in some cases, I'm not sure the offense will miss a beat. I do think we've got two talented kids there. Receiving, Surratt, Price, Cooper, and Horton and Cross. Those guys have been distributed the ball very well from Curtis. You can see with the number of throws that they've gotten or receptions they have gotten on the year. Boy, he's done a great job of distributing the football. And in some respects, I think that's Shanahan's calling of a game, that he tries to target different guys and with different plays. Then he knows who the main target's going to be, and that's what he does. And I think he does a pretty darn good job of it. You can see the number of big plays too: 71, 23, 69, 17, 33, and then it just continues down, even with some of them. Addison Kobe, who's played sparingly, but he's had one big play that led to a touchdown, was 38 yards. So again, in the passing game, they're averaging almost 290 a game, 8 TDs, knock on wood, no interceptions to date. With that, defense has gotten 4 interceptions. They're giving up 61% of their passing, again, because teams are throwing it underneath a lot. Against them, where Indiana completing about 75%. A lot of that's down the field. So big discrepancy there in terms of yards and gain, averaging 515 to 180. I know they're in a lot of statistical categories in the country with that. And then third down conversions, 28% defense, phenomenal. 66% for the offense, phenomenal. That means first and second down for the O has been very efficient. And the defense has done very good on their normal downs, first and second. The only bad thing on this stat, as you can see, I got it here in blue, is penalties. They've had 25 penalties for 232 yards. A lot of that was this last game. That's something that they're going to have to address and get cleaned up, because it's just something that right now is not very good on that. And as I ramble on here, trying to give out as much information as I can as we head into this fourth game, if you do have a question, go ahead and ask it in the comments section. I'll do my best to answer it as we go along here. I know I had to put a link on Twitter to bring them to YouTube, because for whatever reason, my link for X is not functioning correctly tonight. But if you do have a comment and you want to have an answer or question to that, I will do my best to get it to you as soon as I see it. So just a reminder there, I want to be this inclusive as much as possible. Defensively, a good group. Man, I tell you, it's hard to really point to who is or who isn't. But, the two ties at the top are just playing good football. Walker and Fish, the two linebackers inside. Fisher, you see there, 30 tackles on the year, and then it drops to 18 for Walk. And then Alsbury's in there. That's the Arizona transfer, excuse me. And then Isaiah Jones. Sanguinetti is also in there as well. Sacks. Kamara has got the lead in sacks, 3 for 20. And then Farrell has 2 picks on the year. Hardy has 1. And then down here at the bottom, you can see 12 sacks for 81 yards on the year. They've got 4 interceptions and forced fumbles too, but no recovered fumbles yet on the year so far. So again, a rather good debate, good with these statistics, looking at where they're at defensively, what they've done. Great against the run game, doing well against the pass game. Really, the only problem they have outside of the penalties, defensively speaking, is they've given up that score in 3 games in the last 2 minutes of the second quarter. And it's driving Cignetti nuts, even though he makes light of it. But it's kind of a weird thing that's happened for 3 consecutive weeks where the opponent has scored a touchdown prior to half. And I'm not quite sure why that is, other than for whatever reason, those 3 drives that those teams have scored on have just been perfect and got the right, plays going against whatever defense is coming at them. So, you can see overall there is a lot of positives when you look at that statistical breakdown of Indiana. A very good offense that's producing at a high level, efficiency wise, and a quarterback right now that's seeing the field very good. And you can see why they went out and got him from Ohio, Curtis Rourke, because right now he's just playing at a very elite level on Saturdays. And I believe it's going to continue, and I do believe that he's still going to make the right decisions and things of that nature. So offensively, they're rolling along. The offensive line has grown and has continued to grow. Thanks to Coach Bobstead and his ability to teach kids, and then the offensive line for taking what they're learning in the classroom and on film and then applying it out in practice and games. So you can see that week in, week out thus far. Defensively, same thing. You're seeing a defense that is playing to the 3 things that Coach Cignetti talks about a lot: fast, physical, and relentless. Even though that applies to the entire team, defense really emulates that. They are fast, they're physical, and they're relentless. They play like a bunch of guys with their hair on fire, and they don't miss too many tackles. They do a great job of getting a bunch of helmets to the point of tackle, where you've got more than one guy bringing a guy down, or the other guys are there trying to help facilitate the tackle. Now, if they can get some strips as well when they get some turnovers, that would be a great thing, and that's a possibility with this team coming in this weekend, that they can potentially force some fumbles by the way they tackle with getting the many guys around the ball. But that's kind of the tail of the tape per se. I'm going to try to switch over here to, let's see if I can, let's see. Let's just watch some cut ups here. They're not too bad in that regard. Let's watch some of the first downs of Charlotte's offense here. There we go. And I hope you guys can see this all. And I want to make sure that it's coming through clear on my side of the coin. And I do believe all audio is functional, or at least that's what the meters tell me. But I don't know what those things mean. Let's be honest. Let's look at this. And this is some of their game. This is what I've done cut up wise of about 3 games, JMU, UNC in their game against Gardner Webb. And, oh shoot, let's see if this thing's going to cause me problems. Okay, let's see what we got. Well, you can see there that, again, these are all first downs, and, missed a pretty good throw here, just a typical bending route that we like to call. So got good yardage on that one. Then you're going to see here against UNC, where, again, pretty good protection here. And good job by the offensive line, and he kind of throws it up there. I mean, this really should have been a pick. But again, they get some good things down the field and get a nice big play out of it. This is one of their kind of back door screen that they got set up to the tight end. Good call. And that's the kid that I was telling you, number 18. It can run the ball and does a pretty good job getting down the field. And again, they gave North Carolina all they wanted this ball game. Carolina ended up pulling away, but again, they did a lot of their damage on the year first down wise. But as you can see, all these are 1st and 10, and they're throwing it. There's very few runs in the games that I've seen thus far. Carolina playing a bear front, so they're just kind of man protecting, which they do a good job of bottling up in the middle there. As you can see, it's kind of a big wad, and that's what you like to get it in to take off the rush lanes. And this is just throwing a dime. Good double move down here at the bottom, and he just throws a dime in this, right before halftime there. Another 1st and 10. Like I said, these are all 1st and 10s. Carolina bringing a pressure. And this is not the kid that will start on Saturday. This is the kid I think was injured. And I'm not quite sure what all this situation is. Here's the other kid that came in this game because the other kid got hurt, and he's got big, tall, lanky kid and good arm, but he does some dumb stuff with the ball at times. So it's not great. But here's another throw where he just, this game, I mean, the problem is they made some nice big plays down the field. This is against a 6-man pressure. They pick it up nicely. As you can see them do it here, passing it off, and he just drops a dime to the wideout down to the 3-yard line. So again, they're not a team, like I said, is not totally horrible. They just don't have they don't consistently do things enough effectively on these first downs and stuff. So I wanted to show you the defensive cut idea what they're going to see. What in the world is going on? There is a ghost in my house. I don't know what is going on here, but we'll do what we can do. All right. And I can set this up. Almost as if it's a full page, but anyway. JMU on the road, and I think this is that 91 or 14. I can't remember who this one was. You can't tell. These jerseys are horrible to try to read, but good pressure, got after it, and boom. So nice play. They caused a fumble, and I'm not sure they even recovered that one or not. Yeah, they got that one. This is just a replay of it there. Again, they're bringing 5. They don't, they don't outnumber you here. Now they're on a 1st and 10. You can see right now, if quarterback, you got what we call creepers, but you can see that it's fairly obvious. He's got him. He's covering 3, 2, and 1, and this cat is going to be the free guy rotating into the thirds and just kind of reading eyes. So you've got a 5-man rush with a man-free concept, and but they're not outnumbering you at the point of attack. Well, let's clear this so it doesn't do that to me. Good job with the quarterback there, getting the big hit down the field. Good pass protection. Could have been a hold by this right tackle there. He's got him locked up pretty good. But they get the big hit down the field for a big play. That was a 39-yarder. UNC. Here they're playing more of like an odd front, bringing a guy off the edge. And this is more of what we call a run pressure. And they did a good job because the guy that should be blocking that guy right here is this cat. And he misses him. He kind of stutters because the guy timed it pretty good. But anyway, this is because they let 91 get through. That's the guy that I told you that flashed a bunch when I watched him. And let's see what this one is here. Another 1st and 10 early in the game. They're kind of running an RPO here. So in this case here, and how this play is designed in regards to blocking and all that good stuff, they're not going to block this guy. He's the read key. So it's triple option concepts. And you're going to get this guy doing a bubble. This guy's going to block here. He's going to arc out for that guy. If the quarterback runs, he's got to beat him. And then the guys inside, essentially, all these guys are responsible for everything back that way. And he's going to read the defensive end, and then he goes from there on his progression. So nice little run there. Last one here. But you can see, I mean, simple terms of offense, it's hard to run inside zone if you're not going to read the backside because you're not blocking him and he's unblocked. And that guy, number 3, when you're unblocked, you make plays. So that had to be some type of screw up by Carolina in that regard. And let's see if I get here. Well, let's see if I can do this one real quick. So, these are just some of the big plays that they've. Oops, sorry about that. That's the wrong one, dummy. These are some of the big plays that they've given up that have led to scores. We saw this one already. The big throw down the field, good throw and catch. This is a sweet play. This is a reverse pass. They do a good job of blocking it. And they got a guy standing wide open. He almost outran him, from the throw, does a good job. And it worked. So you got to give them a lot of credit on that one for it working. So, 7 of their points there was off of a trick and play. Here's just a nice misdirection. And again, great speed down the sideline. Boy, and a couple nice moves there. But you can see here, nothing fancy about it. Good blocking there. You got one guy, he should be making the tackle. He misses an open space. You got a bunch of guys that have angles on him. This guy just overruns him. cuts back, and then you got two guys from behind, and it's nothing too, like I said, too fancy, but for whatever reason, they've given up a lot of plays that way. Again, James Madison, good pass protection, but again, even though it looks like they're blitzing here because they're bringing this. Whoops, let's see if I can draw. They're bringing this cat and this cat. These are just the linebackers that are walked up and on the outside with 3 down linemen. So this is like a nickel package. And again, this one we may have seen too. This is the touchdown. They're just playing a man free and they don't get home on that pressure. Last tape here. Okay. 2nd and 9 here. Again, just a 4-man front. Their defensive ends like predominantly stand up. I believe that's corner safety, and then another safety's back there deep. And then bringing a guy off in the B gap here for a 5-man pressure again. And great job of picking that up by the running back. This is a really good job. You see him here sneak out to block that cat. Does a great job. And clear that. Okay. Quarterback does a good job standing in the pocket and hits a guy right in the hole for 6. So as you can see with them, it's not anything that from the Hoosier standpoint, they've done a good job with everything that they've got in thus far, and with who they're going to play Saturday. Again, like I said, I just don't think it's a team that Indiana should not really have a lot of trouble with. Should be able to score fairly easily, but at the end of the day, you got to line up, strap it up, and play the guy from across from you, because anything can happen on any given Saturday. And that's the one thing with the Hoosiers, is that they cannot take for granted what it takes to win. And they know now what they've put into it, and the work that they've put into it's paying off. And what can you say about Coach Sig, and what he's done to this group of guys that so many new faces that haven't played together as a unit other than the 3 games of the season, and for them to be doing things at a high level offensively and defensively, rather remarkable. And I just continue to hope that it continues to go the right direction for these guys, because these kids have really worked at it. And you can see what they've done week in, week out thus far. But from here on out, the competition's going to pick up. They're going to need everybody that they've got. If some guys maybe not have gotten a lot of playing time to date, they got to still be ready to roll no matter what. You're one snap away from being the starter, even though you're a backup right now. So hopefully Saturday at the Rock at noon, it'll be a good turnout, good crowd that will keep their fannies in the seats regardless of halftime, and that third quarter rolls around. These guys deserve it. So hopefully the student body will reflect that come Saturday afternoon there in Beantown. I appreciate you sticking with me tonight. And I appreciate you guys letting me know when something was awry, like David did, where he said, I can't hear you. And that was because I had the mute button on. That's not a very good start. As you can see, I didn't grade out very good tonight, so I would not be grading out well on the PFF's website as it pertains to doing the easy things like taking myself off mute. But I appreciate you guys participating in that. And again, all the contact information there you see scrolling over at the bottom. Head on over to HoosierTailgate.com, HoosierTailgate.com for all extra stuff that you need links to. They are there, including all the podcast stuff. So if you need to watch or listen to the game prior to you heading down to Beantown or whatever, by all means, head over to Spotify or Apple. Give us a like there and download it and listen to it in the car as you're headed somewhere. But again, Robert and David, I appreciate you guys for sticking in here tonight with me. And, Robert, I think I kind of agree with you there. You said Indiana right there, 45-7. There's the prediction, and I don't necessarily think you're too far off with that there, Robert. I hope that you're spot on, and the Hoosiers do get a big W and do it that way, because I think that would be a great way to start this weekend off on a right foot for the Hoosiers, and hopefully that can be done. And I appreciate it a lot that you guys are being able to do this, since I've done the last couple of these live. As you can see why I don't do it a lot, because I screw up. That's why I have to have that editing proposition at every now and then. But sometimes it's just easier to throw the camera on and do it and get it going. And that gives you an opportunity to participate if you so like. If you have any suggestions, comments, things of that nature, don't feel free to reach out, whether it's on any of the socials, or you can email me at my Gmail account. That's Hoosier Tailgate 55@gmail.com. Right there you go, is my follow on X is Hoosier Tailgate, or at Coach Griff 55. And of course, if you get on over to YouTube, please subscribe and comment, and let the bell know that you're notified when things drop from the Hoosier Tailgate. Well, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Big game on Saturday. I hope the Colts win too, but I hope the Hoosiers continue on this victory tour, so to speak, and break a historical record, being the first Indiana team to go to 4-0 within over 100 years. That would be something. And for us to keep the Momo going as we head into Big Ten play the following week. Remember, Apple, Spotify, you can get all the podcasts there from them. Like I said, please like, comment, and subscribe on those platforms as well. Download it for your listening pleasure, or head on over to YouTube or HoosierTailgate.com as well for links to the video aspect of the show. I hope everyone has a great rest of your week and a great weekend. For now, I'm the Coach Griffith, and you have been listening to the Hoosier Football Tailgate right here on Believe.